question.
Hi, Charlie.
It's kind of a simple question, but like, who names all the hurricanes?
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. Nowadays, it's the World Meteorological Organization. They come up with a list of names that repeat every 6 years, and they have different names for each basin. Like the ones in the Eastern Pacific will tend to have more Hispanic names. The ones in the Western Pacific will tend to have more Japanese, Thai, Filipino, and Chinese names. And those are rotating in every basin. Every so often, you have a hurricane like Harvey or Irma that's so bad that they don't want to confuse people by having the same name again, so they'll retire it and then they'll replace it with another name. Yeah, but it's the WMO that does that. Yeah, back in the old days, they just used the phonetic alphabet like Abel, Baker, Charlie, and things like that. So if you read about hurricane history, you'll talk about Hurricane Easy, for example, that hit Tampa Bay in 1950. We've been talking about this one at work because one of my colleagues is from the Tampa area, and he's always, talking about Hurricane Easy, which was the last major hurricane that hit Tampa. And if the track shifts much farther to the west, there's a chance that Tampa could get major hurricane conditions. So, yeah, that's sort of a little tangent there.
Well, we did talk about that, and I didn't know about them having different names in different parts of the world. But they, I believe there are four that have been four names that I read that there were four names that have been retired. Katrina being one of them.
There's been more than that, probably four in just recent years. But names like Hazel and Andrew and Gloria, I think, in 1985, and Camille.
And that was my first hurricane. Was Gloria.
Yeah, that was a big one. Yeah, it looked like for a while like it was coming right towards South Carolina, and it turned and headed up to the northeast. So.
And was it which was right after that the one that hit us twice, the one that went out and came back?
Hurricane Diane.
Yes,
Right.
Yeah. So that's also possible. All right, got another question back here.
So kind of like going off of what you said about like retiring the names, how long do you think, or would they retire like Harvey and Irma, like things of that, since they're so big, would they ever like retire them? And if they do,
I can pretty much guarantee that Harvey will be retired, and probably Irma too, if it has the impact we think it's going to have. Yeah. Anytime the hurricane, even if it's not necessarily a strong hurricane, sometimes hurricanes are fairly weak, but they cause lots of rain or produce tragedies in other ways. Anytime the hurricane does that, it tends to retire the name just so that people don't get confused.
Are there other research centers around the U.S. that your center cooperates with? Like where else in the U.S. do people do the type of work you're doing?
Yeah, well, there's a number of centers in Colorado, the National Center for Atmospheric Research and the Center for Research in the Atmosphere, CIERA, both of which are located in Colorado, like I said. We sometimes collaborate with those folks. And also there's the Hurricane Research Division of NOAA in Miami. We work with a lot of those folks. And EMC, which is the Environmental Modeling Center in Washington, which is where most of the model development takes place for the models that do these predictions. We work with all those folks.
And if a student is thinking they want to be in meteorology or meteorological research at some point, what's the education path from high school to those places?
Yeah, well, as I alluded to in the beginning, the most important things you can learn about are physics and math, because both of those are the underpinning of meteorology. And as you go on in high school, obviously you have to have a solid background in algebra and trigonometry and geometry. The calculus is the first big step you'll take. And when you go into college, you'll take lots of other math classes that'll help you. Computer science is obviously very, very important these days. Learning how to decode and to debug code and to interpret code results is very, very important. Since a lot of what we do now is heavily computer intensive. Visualization, like I mentioned, is going to be more important in the future, I think. If you can figure out ways to display data in ways that reveal the important relationships, that's something that's very, very, very important. Math, physics, visualization classes, computer classes, and maybe even social science. That's becoming an issue these days because people at the National Hurricane Center and elsewhere noticed for a while that they would give warning that people just didn't seem to be getting it. They didn't act in ways they thought were appropriate to the threat level. And so we've been putting more money into talking to social scientists to devise ways that make the warnings clearer and more impactful so that people realize the danger and act appropriately.
Yeah.
So social science is another one.
Have you seen South Carolina's ASL, American Sign Language interpreter that they use?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
so there was a story about that guy that his story kind of went viral last year, and because he was so effective in communicating with the deaf community, that people were really interested in his story, and I thought that was fantastic that they were so conscious and aware of having someone be able to communicate clearly to that community. And I hadn't told you guys this yet, but that guy's actually he's deaf, so another interpreter interprets what a hearing interpreter interprets, and then interprets for him, and he interprets for the deaf community on television because his expression and his facility with deaf culture makes him so much more effective in communicating with the deaf community. So that's a kind of a tying into that social sciences being a part of this as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great story, and it's so true because there are a variety of people, obviously, that live in our society, and people tend to interpret words different ways sometimes. Not everybody, well, many can think about it as being a dramatic expert. Not everybody hears the same thing when they hear what seems to be the same word. So
Right.
getting the message out to everybody so that everybody can be as safe as possible is so important.
I'm going to introduce you to my principal. This is Robin Jones,
Hi.
and she has a
Nice to meet
question
you.
she'd like to ask.
So students often ask what you major in for, and I know someone who's majoring in atmospheric science and meteorology. So
Okay.
not everybody who's on TV is a meteorologist. Some of them are just weather people. But what degrees or what? I mean, you can major in thermodynamics or atmospheric science or what are the majors in college?
Yeah. The potential majors for a TV meteorologist or just for meteorologists in general?
Research or TV. I mean, I guess for TV you have to have some communication and journalism as well. But
That's right. That's right. Yeah. When we get new graduate students here.
to work at the Weather Channel. Okay.
Right, yeah. Actually, I know a couple of people at the Weather Channel that went there from here, and most of the new students we get in our program tend to have undergraduate degrees in physics or math, or either some colleges offer undergraduate degrees in meteorology. They just major in meteorology right away. Yeah, but I think physics and math are probably the two most common, but other sciences like chemistry, we see some chemistry majors. Some people come from the arts. Some people come in with like history degrees or something. They have just enough math to get started, and they do great too. So the important thing is to have enough, I think, facility with math that you aren't intimidated when you start seeing the equations in class. If you can get over that initial intimidation and then get your feet wet, then people tend to do pretty well because there's a lot of intuition in the meteorology too, and that's where the physics sort of comes in, I think.
For example, our local meteorologist, Ed Piotrowski, obviously is an on-air personality, but he has what kind of scientific background would a local meteorologist reporter have?
Yeah, I think Ed has a degree in meteorology. He's pretty well up to speed on all the meteorology stuff. He's a very good. I keep up with him on Twitter and Facebook, and he pretty much knows what he's talking about. Yeah, some of the folks like your principal was mentioning tend to be journalism or communications majors who take some classes and learn how to basically present the data that they're given, which is great because some of them are really good at it. And so it takes all kinds, I guess.
So sometimes that person would have a meteorologist off camera who's feeding them the
Right.
information. Yeah.
Right. That's exactly right. Yeah, somebody that they would consult with to make sure they're getting everything right. Yeah.
Right. Anybody else think of anything question-wise while we're talking? Awesome. Ed, thank you so much for taking some time out. I know you hadn't had a lot of sleep in this past week. I told you.
It's true, yeah. This has been a highlight of my week, though, to tell you the truth. This is much better than staring at the screen waiting for the next model run to come in. This has been great. Thanks for the opportunity.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate it. We're going to take this recording and show it to all the other classes. Maybe sometime after this round of storms rolls through, we can talk again and see what actually happened, lines up with what the models look like.
That's a great idea. And I was thinking, if I'm down sometime on school's still in session, I'll be happy to come and give you a presentation and show you some cool stuff if I get a chance to do that. So
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Well, I'm sharing your data when you post it to your Facebook group, of course. So thank you so much. It's good to see your face.
You too. Take care, everybody, and have a good weekend. I think it'll be better than it would have been otherwise if the hurricane had come. So
Bye.
take care.
I love you.
Beeline.
Yeah.
All right.